Denis Villeneuve, welcome to Q. So
Merci.
we're here in Montreal. Blade Runner's Canadian premiere is happening at the Festival de Nouveau Cinéma. Why do that here?
Well, the thing is that for several reasons. First, it was like from the start, the studio decided that the movie will not premiere, would be not shown in any film festival, because most of the festivals like Venice or TIFF were at the beginning of September, and the movie being released at the beginning of October. The gap between the festivals and it was too long. They were too much afraid of spoilers. The story of 2049 is there's a lot of plot points that we are trying to protect.
Yeah.
And but the fact that the FNC was like a premiere was on October 4th opened the window to the possibility of showing the movie in my hometown.
That's great.
And it's a small film festival that I deeply love because it directly participated to my education as a filmmaker. It's a kind of film festival where I discovered the numerous great filmmakers, and I hold this film festival a lot. They were among the first one to help me when I was young with my short films, and for me it's a natural way of saying thank you.
I want to talk about the whole spoilers thing in just a little while and the push against them. But first, take me to the first time you saw the original Blade Runner. Do you remember? Can you see the screen? Can you see
the thing is that I know I saw it in a theater. I saw it probably in Montreal. I say probably because I think I saw it at the Imperial, which is one of the best theater in town, and it's like it's really a movie that blew me away. I was really deeply impressed.
Why?
Because it's like at the time I was like very hungry for a serious science fiction.
As opposed to
the B movies or sci-fi that is designed for kids or just visual effects extravaganza.
Yeah.
It was a really existential, deep journey of a character into a future that seems so real. It was the first time I was seeing someone that had a clear vision that what could be a strong potential of what could be our future, and that it was striking. And from a visual point of view, it was like a visual poem. It's a Blade Runner. The original is a pure art house, powerful. I don't just have words in French. So it's a realization of a director. It's like a very powerful movie.
Do you think that, it's funny you mentioned that Blade Runner spoke about what could become. Do you think some things have come true?
From an aesthetic point of view, yeah, I think that very often you walk into streets in the world and you have those Blade Runner moments, when you are walking in Tokyo or London or some New York or even Montreal or Toronto. Sometimes you see how how the cultures are blended, the hybrids between cultures. The signs of gigantic signs on the cities, the density of the atmospheres. It's really from an atmosphere point of view, aesthetic point of view. Yeah, sometimes we are close to from our relationship with technology to there's things that feels pretty accurate. Yeah.
Well, one thing about the original Blade Runner was that it wasn't a clean future. Like, it wasn't pristine white walls everywhere and everyone wearing, jumpsuits with V's like the Jetsons. When you were in these people's apartments, it was dirty in the atmosphere. It seemed dirty. It felt like it was predicting changes to the environment. It felt like it was predicting climate change in a way.
Yeah. It's really, it was a beautiful, impressive nightmare, and you didn't know if you wanted to be there or be afraid of it.
So what does science fiction do as a director, the creator, that can talk to us about what's going on, not in worlds far away, but what's going on here now?
I think it's a science fiction is a way, by its own definition, to push the boundaries of our reality and to explore themes, existential themes, or social themes that in a more radical and dynamic way than if you were doing it with a drama, you know. That's the way I see it.
Is that for you as a creator in general?
But it's I've been I don't know if I will answer to your question correctly, but it's a genre that I am attracted to since a long time.
Yeah, like very early, right?
Yeah.
And you've become this director that I think people. It was funny when you mentioned smart sci-fi earlier. Like I think that you've become a director associated with the idea of smart sci-fi in a modern age. You look at Arrival, you look at the new Blade Runner 2049, and you look at like Dune you're going to be doing up next. Do you feel that thirst for smart sci-fi you had in your early days is following your directing career?
It's the movies I felt in love with when I was a young teenager, and that attracted me to cinema. Like movies like Close Encounter of the Third Kind, 2001, A Space Odyssey, or Blade Runner, for instance. Those are movies where there's strong aesthetic vision brought to the screen by directors with strong voices that are authors. And those are the movies that have really started the dream, you know. So it was like for me, I was dreaming to go there. I was hoping it could happen, but things were unsure. I mean, it's just that I was lucky, and I had the chance to work in Hollywood. If I had stayed in Montreal, it would have been a little bit more difficult to fulfill that dream.
Sitting in the theater watching Blade Runner, and now all these years later, directing it. Do you feel like the same person?
Yes and no. I mean, I hope I'm less neurotic and less autistic than when I was. But I still have I will say that there is a strength in those years where I was dreaming about sci-fi that I can still relate to.
What do you mean?
But as an example, I will say that I spent, you know, I spent all my teenage years to dream, a lot of dream, you know. I invested everything in dreams, so at least I can do something with those dreams now.
it paid off.
Yeah, exactly.
Denis, to make this film, you wanted to have a conversation with Ridley Scott, who directed the original. That was important to you.
It's like I never did that before, to make a movie inspired by another movie. Yeah. It means that, and to start with somebody else's dreams. And I never wanted to do a sequel or any kind of, it's just that I needed his permission, you know. For me, the first movie is like a church, and I didn't want to feel like a vandal with paint on the walls. I needed the permission. I needed him to say, I give you the key, you can keep the house for the weekend, do what you want. I wanted him to give him his blessing.
And he did. So did you guys talk on the phone, or?
No, I met him.
Really?
I needed to be in front of him, and he wanted to meet me too. And it was a very nice first conversation where basically he talked about the first movie. Basically, it gave me talking about the genesis, the source of inspirations, the background, all the backstory of the making of the first movie, to explain to me why he did this or that and why, and just give me the landscape of the creation of the first movie. And then he said, the new one is yours. I won't be there. The only way you can do this if I step away and give you total freedom. It's your movie, it's your responsibility.
Did he give you any advice, or?
Don't it up.
But
That was, that's honest.
Yeah.
No, he was like, Ridley Scott is a very direct man. There's no place for...
There's no...
No, it's like... So it's like, that I love. I love people that are truthful, authentic, and so when he says, you always know you're gonna get the truth out of his mouth, which is a thing that I really appreciate.
So were you able to do it? Like, were you able to sit in the chair and really feel like, this is my palette, I can paint it however I want?
They gave me the permission, and I was working with a studio that was giving me a freedom. I mean, of course, there was a plan, there was a screenplay, there was a story to be being told. So I honor the privilege. I told that story, but with my own words, with my own images. Yeah, I think it's what the thing that brought peace to my heart once the movie was finished is not that I thought that the movie was perfect, is that I thought that what I was seeing on the screen was me, my ideas. I think the visions that I had, all the work I had done with Roger Deakins, my cinematographer, in preparation when we were dreaming together about the movie, and with the production designer, Denis Villeneuve, we had very precise ideas, and they are on the screen. So after all, no matter what happened, you are in peace because okay, that at least we did it, you know.
I know the part of the part of seeing your reality up there was keeping the actors grounded in a more emotional reality, you know, not having them in front of a green screen. How did you do that? How did you sit with the actors? You're famous for talking to the actors through the film, speaking with them. How did you make sure to keep them grounded in an emotional reality in this film?
Man, no, the thing is that first of all, it all start with the screenplay, you know, the dialogues that start with the screenplay, and I don't want the actors to feel trapped. There's a very precise story that we have to tell, but I don't want them to feel trapped into the scenes. I want them to have the space to express themselves and to find their voice. All actors are different. Some of them I give them more freedom because I feel that they know how to deal with that freedom. Others are direct very precisely because I feel that they need it. You know, it's like it's about a creative dialogue where I love to there's nothing more exciting for me than an actor that brings a strong idea on set that I wasn't prepared for and that destabilizes me and that I feel in me that it's a strong cinematic idea and that there's nothing more exciting. So I'm trying to set the place to receive that. And one of the way we did this is, and I did the same with my previous movies, which is to create real environments, real sets where we built everything. We built everything. All the people will see on screen was. It sounds sometimes. The truth is that we talked a lot about this in the past months, and it was like in the press everywhere. Why? Because we cannot talk about the story, and we had to talk about something. But it's something that people did for decades. I mean, in cinema until recently, people were building sets. You know,
yeah.
It's just that in the recent years, in the past maybe 2 decades, there's like a tendency for a sci-fi movie to be done with virtual environments.
And what do we lose? What do we lose when we use them?
Me, it's like we lose presence. I mean, the actors are like struggling with technical things. They have to play against a tennis ball in front of sitting on a fake chair.
Yeah, and they're wearing a green thing.
And some directors are great with that, like like the work of Peter Jackson or the last Jungle Book. You know, those movies are very impressive. Me, I can't do that.
Yeah,
I need to be with real props, with real objects. It's just a different way of working. But what I like about this old-fashioned way of working is that it allows the actor to focus more in interiority. It's more about acting than pretending that there's things around him.
It makes me think like you're working with. I mean, and I'm not going to say there was an unlimited budget, but we'll say this was a very big budget film, 2049.
It's a big budget, but right at the start, I had to make sure that what we were doing was in that certain budget. So I had a lot of money, but not all the money in the world. And it was, let's say that I did a very, very expensive art house movie.
Does it feel like that?
Yeah, that's the way they felt.
Because I was going to say, like, are there restrictions that come with being able to have a gigantic budget? Do you feel restrictions you wouldn't necessarily feel with a smaller budget?
On that one, the thing is that because of by the nature of the project, you know, the first movie was like became famous for its his visual poetry. So, and the producer who came to offer me the project, they knew exactly what kind of director I am, and what are my strengths, and what are my desires.
I'm not going to spoil anything, I promise. But in the third scene, no, I'm only joking. I'm not going to spoil anything. The question the original Blade Runner asked to me, and I think to everybody, and the question that your film asks to me, and I think to everybody, is what does it mean to be human? And to be so deeply involved in the original, to have to absorb the original, and then to make this new one. Have you found any answers?
But the thing is that the questions are beautiful, the answers are all personal, but I like the idea that there's something about being human. Human is linked with the idea of broken dreams. The idea that we can dream and have those dreams not being fulfilled and have to deal with the melancholy of it. That is something I feel is a very Blade Runner-like answer.
Well, but it's interesting because you said earlier that you reflect on those early days of you watching sci-fi, of your teenage years, of you just being consumed by dreams. And now your answer to what does it makes us human is that you dream it all.
But I think that I will not answer to your question, but the thing is that when you think about it, half our lives are dreams, you know. It's like we are spending half our lives in a relationship with our subconscious. And one thing that I deeply love with cinema is that it's like a bridge between reality and our dreams. As a filmmaker, I feel like I have the privilege to try to go get dreams and bring them back in reality. It's like, that's one of the things I deeply love about my job.
And that's why it's important for people like me and like reviewers not to give too much away because they're kind of spoiling the dream, right?
But the thing is that the movie is a very immersive experience. I think I will say that it's a movie that we really designed for the big screen. I'm not saying this because I want box office. I says this because we dream about the movie.
Yeah, don't watch it on your phone.
It's designed to be in a huge screen with a great sound system. The sound of this movie is very important. If people can see it in the Atmos cinema or in the IMAX, for me those are my two favorite versions, 2D IMAX or the Dolby Atmos. The sound is I work with masters and they did it's a very, so I'm talking about this because it's a very immersive experience, and not to know where you're going, the experience is more powerful, I think.
Denis, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Please,
I really
thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.